11 bells. Those 11 bells symbolize an event that took place 103 years ago. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, the armistice that ended the fighting of World War I, otherwise known as the Great War or the War to End All Wars, came into force. A year later, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th a national holiday named Armistice Day. On May 26, 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a bill into law changing the name to Veterans Day in celebration of all veterans of American wars. Different from Armed Forces Day, a day for citizens to come together and thank our military members who are currently serving, and unlike Memorial Day, a day for remembering those service members who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Veterans Day pays tribute to all those who have served in the nation in the past as a member of the U.S. Armed Forces during times of peace or conflict. Our veterans are a humble bunch. Talk with them about their time in the service, and they are much more likely to mention old friends, their buddies who were injured, or those who lost their lives, rather than discuss their own individual accomplishments. Those of us who lived have to represent those who did not make it. These words express a feeling that is common to Americans who have worn the uniform. They never forget their friends, especially the ones who did not live to be called veterans. Nor do our veterans ever seem to lose the desire to serve their country. Anywhere you go in America, you find that veterans are the backbone of their communities, always making a contribution, pitching in, providing leadership, and setting a good example for the younger generation. Per the 2021 Veteran Civic Health Index, nearly 60% of veterans give money to charity, compared to 52% of non-veterans. Veterans are more likely than non-veterans to be registered to vote and to vote in local elections. 74.7% of all veterans voted in 2020, compared to 66.9% of non-veterans. Veterans are nearly 20% more likely than non-veterans to spend time with their neighbors, and younger veterans are more likely to volunteer in their community than non-veterans. Roughly 19 million, about 7% of the U.S. adult population, are veterans. Many of the veterans served in the cold mountains of Afghanistan or the burning heat of Iraq. Others go back to the Persian Gulf War, the Cold War period, the Vietnam War, or even the Korean War. We also continue to honor and treasure those roughly 240,000 surviving members of the largest American force ever assembled, those who served during World War II. Each veteran has his or her own story to tell, but whether duty found them home or abroad, in wartime or peacetime, they all share pride of having served. And they have in common the memory of taking an oath and becoming something much larger than themselves. 78% of our veterans served during wartime, many of which deployed to multiple combat zones numerous times. As with other wars, many of our veterans suffer from physical injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder. They are constantly in our thoughts. Our gratitude also extends to our veterans' loved ones because military service is often a family commitment, and they too sacrifice for the good of our whole nation. Good morning. I'm Cadet Captain Aidan Faria, and I'm the commanding officer of the Jared Tucker Marine Corps JROTC. It is a true honor to be with all of you for this ceremony of recognition and gratitude. And to all the veterans here today or watching this on live stream, on behalf of the entire Tucker family, I offer you the greatest respect and most heartfelt thanks. You keep faith with America. Your example of service and sacrifice inspires a new generation. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem and the retirement of the colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We would like to take this opportunity to welcome some great supporters of Jared Tucker High School to our Veterans Day Assembly. We are privileged to have here with us today Ms. Christy Canzella, School Board Member, Brooklyn District. Ms. Patricia O'Bannon, Board of Supervisors, Vice Chairman, Tuckahoe District. And Dr. Amy Cashwell, Superintendent of Henrico County Public Schools. Welcome. Typically, pre-COVID, the JRTC program would host a reception for veterans prior to this ceremony. We would honor those here with us today in person by having them stand when their name was called, grouped by the military service branch in which they served. While the veterans from our local community cannot be with us here today, we would still like to recognize all of those who served. During their time of military service, these veterans never sought fame, fortune, honor, glory, or any special recognition, but they deserve it. As I mentioned the respective service branches, please join me in a round of applause for the veterans who served. The first group of veterans we would honor today are the United States Army. Our next group of veterans celebrated their 246th birthday yesterday. Veterans of the United States Marine Corps. Veterans of the United States Navy. Veterans of the United States Air Force. Veterans of the Army National Guard. Veterans of the Air National Guard. And finally, veterans of the U.S. Coast Guard. Additionally, we would be remiss if we did not recognize one other group of individuals who have given a great deal in service to their nation. These people are seldom recognized, but their sacrifices are very real and tangible. Please join me in recognizing the family members of our veterans who have displayed marvelous support, steadfast resolve, and enduring patience. Please give them a round of applause. At this time, the Jared Tucker Fine Arts Department will perform a patriotic selection. Today's guest speaker, Mr. Jerry Howard, embodies what we mentioned earlier, a veteran who continues to serve in the community. Mr. Howard was born in Richmond, Virginia, and has been a lifelong student of leadership, beginning at the Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps at Highland Springs, under the tutelage of the late Master Sergeant Richard Duperier, U.S. Marine Corps retired. He began his professional career soon after the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, by volunteering to serve in the United States Marine Corps. While on active duty, he completed his bachelor's degree and obtained an MBA from National University of San Diego, California. Afterward, he and his family returned to Richmond, Virginia area, and today Mr. Howard is the founder and senior leadership consultant at E4 Leadership and Business Coaching. He is also the president and CEO of 2 construction companies, Solar Film and Specialty Drapery. He has been married for almost 20 years, has 4 beautiful children, and lives in Midlothian. He enjoys active sports such as snowboarding, mountain biking, and boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jerry Howard.
Good morning. That was really quiet. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. First, thank you to Cadet Captain Faria. First, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Colonel Reifer for inviting me here today. Sir, it's an absolute honor to be representing and counted amongst those who served our wonderful country, which, believe it or not, is still revered in quite a lot of the world. And it is such a privilege to be with our distinguished guests today as well. So thank you again. So you've all heard the good stuff about me. We should probably call it a day. So like you said, I'm Jerry Howard, and I began my service a few months after the terrorist attacks on 9/11 in 2001. At the time, I was living a life unworthy of anything, much less honorable. Quite frankly, I was a college dropout and engaged in all manner of debauchery that takes place in a college town when people are not studying. So I'll let your imagination handle the rest of that story. To summarize, I lacked the courage to truly step on the path that God had said wonderfully laid out for me. And I knew what to do, but I simply resigned myself to laziness. And in addition to lacking honor and courage, I lacked the commitment to any particular cause other than that of my own whimsical behavior and my poor collegiate status. So my time in service was initiated out of a combination of feelings, some regret, some anger, and believe it or not, a little bit of selfishness. I knew I needed to change my life, but I lacked the knowledge, skills, and the abilities to get off that self-imposed path of destruction. But then the terrorist attacks happened. And I think the anger I felt was what gave me enough courage, momentarily that is, to initiate some sort of change. So I traded my path of destruction for an opportunity to serve. And it's funny how differently we were all affected by the events that happened that day. But within 3 months, I was no longer a resident of what I call College Town, USA, but I was officially a resident of Parris Island, South Carolina. I heard that's where they made Marines. Did anybody else hear that? Yeah. So whatever the reason, anger, regret, pride, even patriotism, I just don't think most people initiate change in their lives in that particular way. It's just not normal. I mean, is it? So it is a very unique group of people that initiate change by volunteering for military service at all, much less during a war. How's that for change? Now, it is worth noting that I personally was fortunate enough to be spared the rigors of actual combat. I was stationed at a non-deployable training unit in 29 Palms, California, in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So just traded one sandbox for another. But like many veterans, that didn't change the risk involved in signing my name on the dotted line of my enlistment contract. And I believe this unique group of people is best represented by the words, "send me." Send me. is the motto of the 2nd Armored Brigade, Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division of the U.S. Army, affectionately known as the Spartans. Their exploits are nothing short of the very embodiment of what it means to be a veteran. The unit's roots actually go back as far as World War I and were noted by General Blackjack Pershing as one of the most brilliant in military history, and the 3rd Brigade not only took part in, but repelled what became the brunt of the last German offensive of World War I. So you can imagine they helped initiate Veterans Day. So like the Spartans, veterans see conflict and they engage it head on. Veterans choose to face storms in their lives and often rise above it. All veterans share the motto, "Send me." In the United States, even in the most least fortunate are born into a standard of living far above even the nobility of some countries in the world. So to choose to give up that bears significant recognition, regardless of the reason or the outcome of signing on the dotted line. Veterans will never wonder if they were willing to do their part in building and ensuring the way of life they gave up remains for future generations. And it began the same for each veteran. Somewhere in their heart, they spoke the words, "Send me." All veterans share one common act. They sign on the proverbial dotted line. They know full well that discomfort, pain, trauma, death, or the worst in my opinion, torture, could very well write the next chapter of their lives when they sign on the dotted line. But yet they still respond with the words, "Send me." Being a veteran taught me many things, namely honor, courage, and commitment. And even though I still had a ton of changing to do, that process had begun. For me, that change was a catalyst for the very outcomes that brought me to this stage today. And it's not lost on me either that this must serve a purpose. Because what did I sacrifice? I mean, really, if we think about it. My sacrifice was minimal, if at all. Let's see, I sacrificed whimsical behavior, I sacrificed impending jail time, and a general path of destruction. But for what? I gained an honorable title called United States Marine. I gained a beautiful family and a prosperous career. I gained an eternity with my Heavenly Father. But some veterans were not so lucky. Some of them sacrificed everything. They sacrificed their mobility. Some sacrificed their dignity. Some gave up their families, their careers, and even the hint of living a life of prosperity. But they didn't lose their hope, and they certainly did not lose their honor. So what's my purpose then? Why do I get to share this with you? It's really for them, quite frankly, that I agreed to speak today. It's for them that we honor the flag that they represented. It's for them that we remain steadfast in our resolve for unity and respect for one another. It's for them that we put aside our own agenda and ask ourselves, how can we help? How can we give back? It's for them that we should all continue to raise our hands and say, "Send me." Finally, I hope you search your families, your school, churches, communities, and find that unique individual that gave so much, and tell them that you're truly grateful. Not only thank them for their service, but tell them why you're grateful. Be specific. Tell them what it means to you to live this life. Even if you're just happy to be with them, tell them. Ask them about their time in service. Encourage them to tell their story, and then listen. Just listen. And if each one of us does this for just one veteran in our lives, then you will have learned what it means to serve a cause greater than yourself. You'll have done your part, and you'll probably understand what it means when they say, "Send me." So again, I'm Jerry Howard, and I thank you for your time and attention today. God bless you.
Mr. Howard, Jared Tucker High School would like to present you with a gift in appreciation for your time and remarks today. Thank you for your service to our country and its citizens.
Outstanding. This is a really big bag. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As America looks back on over more than 2 centuries of freedom, we see a common thread woven throughout history: the dedication of men and women who answered the call of freedom and served in our nation's armed forces. As the service songs are played in medley, we would appreciate if any veteran who is with us today in person would please stand.
The United States Army. The United States Coast Guard.
Today there is, and perhaps there always will be, conflict in the world. Peace and freedom are values that we cherish. Those who have paid the ultimate price, stranger or loved one, will never be forgotten. Many veterans are not with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of taps in memory of and honor of those who have given their lives for our country.